All right, welcome to Your Time, Your Money, the show where your time is just as valuable as your money, and we know that. As always, we're excited to have guest speakers on our show. Anytime we get a chance to, we try to bring in value and education through other professionals, and Sage Advisors is one of those professionals that we work with quite a bit. Brian Larson's with us today, and we're going to talk about cash balance plans, which are more geared towards business owners, people who own corporations, things along that line. So there's not a lot of familiarity in the normal investment space with individuals, but hopefully we'll bridge into some questions that we might have on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a cookie cutter conversation, but it's good to have professionals in this industry that give their opinion and that are readily available for people to be able to interact with and listen to. Because, in some cases, especially in the local area, cash balance plans are a huge part of a non-state run system to have, longevity, to be around a long time. And, Mark, as good as I do, there's a ton of blue collar places around here that would benefit from a guy like Brian and what they do.
Well, let's get started, and let's have Brian do his own bio today.
Let him do his own. All right, I like it. Put him on the hot seat.
As always, it's your time.
Your money. Let's get it started. And if we don't talk the whole entire time, we actually take you out back and beat you up. So just FYI.
You're a big guy. Like an outright.
Mark does the beating. I just videotape it.
Well, it's great to be here with you both, Mark and Matt. Thank you for inviting me in, and it's wonderful to be here with Your Time, Your Money. My name is Brian Larson. I am the regional director in the Northeast for Sage Advisory Services. We are a registered investment advisor based out of Austin, Texas, New York. I am New York homegrown. Presently live in Westport, Connecticut now, and happy to be here.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Staten Island, New York.
All right, so you're not a real New Yorker. You're a downstater.
Yeah.
No, we're real New Yorkers. We're the cows and the grass grows. Right?
Well, Westchester says upstate, but
I don't know.
In Staten Island,
Staten Island.
They one time had cows and they had farms. It was the farm country.
That's true.
Not any longer, but it was at one time.
Now it's in the city.
What the topic we're going to discuss today, I think amazes me the most is that when we go in and visit with business owners, and we do a lot of corporate plans in the sense of like simple IRAs, SEP IRAs, 401k plans, things along that lines. But we can go and talk to a business owner. It really sheds light on the quality of the advisor they're working with if they've ever been broached with the topic of a cash balance plan. Because a lot of individual business owners or corporate business owners, they've never heard of a cash balance plan. So maybe let's start with that.
What is it?
Right? What it is and how it works a little bit, and just some of the benefits that employers are missing out on with it.
Sure. Well, cash balance plans, it has the best of both worlds in the form of a defined benefit plan and a defined contribution plan. The reality is it's 100% falls into the DB space.
Right.
And so where it has the qualities of a defined contribution plan, like a 401k or a profit sharing, you have the ability to transport it. I mean, if you leave your place of business, if you retire but you move on to another business, you can either roll that into a 401k, you can roll it into an IRA. But in terms of the defined benefit plan space, it's really important to define where the actual contribution and the growth of a plan like that comes to being. One, the benefit is defined in terms of an interest crediting rate, or the acronym of being an ICR. And then the second part of that is it actually does have an account balance, a balance value. But at the end of the day, that business is on the hook, or that business is responsible for what that benefit is years in the future at that time.
So have you ever found it that like a business has a certain amount of employees before they get to a cutoff where they should be thinking about this? Is there like a number under 10 employees, under 50 employees? Like where should I be thinking about it, right?
It's most popular in the small business space, right?
Gotcha.
And generally speaking, we see and have a lot of conversations with financial advisors and clients alike that it's in the 10 and under space, at least that I generally see. But make no mistake, there are large plans out there. Sage in itself manages some rather large customized cash balance plans that are north of $100 million. Think like law firms, like large partner law firms.
Partner law firms, yeah.
Well, I think it's important to go back a step just so the listeners can understand a little bit. When you're talking that defined benefit space, you're referring to a similar space as you would find a pension in.
Correct.
And for listeners, what Brian meant by being on the hook for that is that you are basically putting money into a plan, right? And then you're saying, I'm going to pay out XYZ dollars when that person retires.
Correct.
Right?
So it's like you're creating a pension.
Yeah, which can take on, I think, investment risk then, right? For the business owner.
Correct.
More concerned if it was short term and the market's down versus the long term risk. But for business owners listening, think pension space when we're talking about defined benefits plan. It's another way to kind of enhance the giving to your employees, or for the business owner themselves. They're usually an employee.
Yes.
So as they're looking to exit their own company, that's what's really neat about these plans, right? Is as they're trying to exit these companies, they're walking away with a large balance in most cases.
Absolutely, and really, what it comes down to is your age standpoint. We've had a number of conversations this year with clients in their 50s, mid 50s, even approaching 60s. And in some situations, they could put as much as $200,000, $250,000, $300,000 a year into a cash balance plan. And if you stop and you think about it, in terms of these business owners, they spent the bulk of their lives, their career, building up their business and maybe putting aside the actual retirement planning aspect of what they should be doing for themselves. They're 55 years old now. They take a look and they're like, wow, wait a minute. Did I miss out? And what a cash balance plan allows you to do is once you take care of the 401k, once you take care of your profit sharing plan, that's where you can attach a cash balance plan on top of that, and ultimately supercharge 10 years of retirement savings. 20 years of retirement savings in less than 10 years.
Gotcha.
But the number one objective, or at least benefit of a cash balance plan, is the tax savings. It's the ability to reduce your taxable income.
Well, yeah, I mean, you just mentioned putting away maybe $200,000, $300,000 or whatever that might be. That's all pre-tax, right? So like you were saying, usually a business owner is so concerned about growing the business, they're sacrificing their retirement to roll money into building their
to generating income. Yeah,
they're trying to generate income. They're trying to buy new equipment, expand, grow, and whatever. So these are maybe specific plans that could benefit a person that's maybe 5 to 10 years out from retirement. And now maybe they have the business up and running. There's some assets they can sell off to create profit during the business. Yeah. But a nice tax shelter for them nonetheless.
Well, I just want to make sure our listeners are getting a lot of value here, especially if they're a business owner. And I feel like more often in the recent year, we've been doing a lot of small business takeovers where I think as people get to the end of their career, this might be a great opportunity. Have you ever seen it? Now tell me this, I'm a small business and I have a simple IRA. Is there a double up where I do a simple and I also do a cash balance plan? Does that occur in the real world?
No,
okay.
It does.
Help me understand that. I'm a business owner. I run a firm of attorneys and I already have a simple IRA plan. Everyone contributes. But now I'm at the end of my career and I want to do a cash balance plan. What do I do now?
So great question. And this is where some small business owners and advisors alike feel as though it might be a little bit complicated. And I think number one, it's looking at partners that understand the business, that understand the space, and how to basically check the boxes to make sure it makes sense. And the number one question is, in terms of a business owner, it has to be someone that has predictable cash flow.
Got it.
It's not someone that did a incredible year of business, it's one and done, and they set this cash balance plan, because the IRS definitely wants to see consistency in this space. So you're looking for a consistent cash flow.
The revenue is $1 million a year, right? Consistently.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And that predictable income to be able to repeat it many years going forward into the plan.
That's about having a good business plan and having longevity. But yeah, so let's say I am that person. So what does it look like?
So from that standpoint, it is best to bring in an actuary or a third-party administrator to take a look at your income levels, the cash flows, your age to retirement, and really figure out the dollar amount that would make sense on an annual basis going into a cash balance plan. Okay. So again, assuming you're somewhere between the age of 50 and 55, taking that number, I hope I didn't age you.
I'm about to be 40. So
okay.
That's all right. Birthday's coming up, baby.
Birthday's coming up.
My birthday.
But 50 to 55,
One more week.
somewhere in that ballpark between $200,000 to $250,000 a year could be put into that plan. The actuary and the TPA firm will come up with those numbers.
Got it.
And that's how the
But
plan takes place.
that's what could go into the plan, though.
Absolutely.
For my own behalf.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, what amazes me about the plans is that if you talk to a lot of advisors out there, they say, "Oh, we do cash balance plans," or "Oh, and then when they go in there and create a presentation to talk to the business owner, they're touting their return. They're touting, "I got 8%, or I can get 9%, or whatever consistently," and right there tells you that they don't understand how
What
a cash balance plan
is.
works
Yeah.
and how you manage that. Can you explain that a little bit? Because I think this is very important because there may be business owners that are listening to this episode and saying, "Oh, I'll ask my guy to do it," and they'll be managing it for growth like they would a normal 401k.
Right, or a simple IRA.
Right, and it just says to me, hey, you know what? The advisor might be a good advisor for your personal stuff, but not necessarily for your business stuff. And this is where you want to have a second look at a firm.
Right, because it's way different. There's a huge dichotomy there, and we were chatting prior to the episode. And the truth is, guys, is that Mark and I and Sage had a chance to really do a nice presentation a couple years back to a local place, and they kept touting these great rates of return. And both Mark and I just kept shaking our heads like, no, we don't care about rate of return, because in a year like this year, now all of a sudden, the gloves are off. And it's ugly.
Yeah, and you want to shoot for an average, like that low single digit average.
Yeah, so the return is called an interest crediting rate, or the acronym again is ICR, interest crediting rate. The Fed caps the interest crediting rate on cash balance plans at 6%. So it has a ceiling, it has a max return as far as of what you can
actually
achieve
get, yeah,
on an annual basis in a cash balance plan. So there's at the end of the day, the greater the return over the interest crediting rate, the reduction in your annual contribution.
Right.
So if you're able to put $200,000 in, but you're getting a consistent 10, 15, 20% return on that, you're not going to be able to contribute that $200,000 in on an annual basis. Yeah. And if you really stop to think about it, the amount you'd be paying on taxes, it's money you're ultimately losing. I mean, you're not losing it, but you end up paying that dollar amount in taxes.
Draw the narrative too for the listener. If I do a cash balance plan, what is the end goal of it? What is the purpose of it? Because I think if people understand the purpose, a business owner understands the difference, the purposeful difference of a simple IRA or 401k and then a cash balance plan, then they'll understand, oh, that's why I don't want a huge rate of return. So get me to that end game, and then I can work backwards.
So and again, like a 401k, Roth, simple, it's a retirement plan under the ERISA, et cetera. It's in that complex.
But what's the cash balance plan do different?
But significantly, the number one difference is reducing your taxable income.
Got it.
And a common question I when I talk to financial advisors and clients, it's do you have an income problem? And the income problem being you're paying too much money in taxes.
Right, because I'm over the $400,000 threshold, or I can't make money. I can't put money into my Roth because I'm over the $226,000 threshold, whatever it is for this year. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you take a look at the returns, and maybe the interest crediting rate is 5%, and the return on the portfolio is 4.5%, and we're getting towards the end of the year, and that return is under by 100 basis points or 50 basis points.
1% or 0.5%.
Correct. Okay. And you might have a client say, well, wait a minute, I'm not doing as well as I thought I should be.
Right.
What's going on? How come you're reducing the risk in the portfolio? And it's like, well, no, hold up, wait a minute. Day one, when you roll this contribution into this portfolio, $200,000, the number we seem to be focusing in on, right off the bat, day one walking in, you made yourself 40% by not paying taxes to the IRS on that money.
Yep.
And at a certain point, after that initial conversation, but year to year, market to market, it changes with certain business owners. But again, at the end of the day, that's when it clicks for them and realize, oh, wait a minute, this is for reducing my taxable income. Right. Yes, I'm saving for retirement. I understand that. It's supercharging my retirement plan, but it's reduction of taxable income.
Yeah, and that's a conversation we have to have with clients every year in and year out, because a lot of business owners, they lose sight of that, of the reason they started the cash balance plan, and they get into this.
I could have got a better rate of return, right? So,
right, but then the next couple of years come around, and they all of a sudden they put in, a lot less.
So it really
they end up paying more in taxes, unfortunately.
The size of your business doesn't really matter. It's if you're a business owner and your income, it gets to a point where you want to start to mitigate some of that income. That's what I want people to draw the narrative of, right?
Absolutely.
So that's an important narrative, I think.
Yeah. Well, let's continue on with the discussion. Right now, it's a period of time in our show. We're going to do Community Spotlight, which is always a fun time for us. So we're super excited for today's Community Spotlight. Today's Community Spotlight is going to be Hudson Valley Crusaders. So this is actually United Women's Soccer League 2. Team that started down in Saugerties, New York, semi-pro women that are, really just killing it on the field. And Hudson Valley Crusaders is located, their main field is down in Cantine Field in Saugerties, New York, but they're a member of the Northeast Division. And it's www.hudsonvalleycrusaders.com. You can reach them at 518-687-3773. If you're a player and interested in trying out, you can send in film and video for them to consider you for next season. And if you're interested in attending the games, you can check them out online and see their game schedule and attend the games. They're fun to watch.
We love sponsoring our sports events, man. We love it. I mean, I think it's great that we sponsored them, and they got some really good uniforms. They sent us a uniform.
Yeah, they sent us a uniform, which is really nice.
I love
and
stuff
it's
like
a good
that.
transition league between the pros and college, because there's nothing out there in between that allows people to continue on and build up. So it's a great company. So
Cool.
Once again, Hudson Valley Crusaders. So I think where we can also go with it is maybe describe in the cash balance plan, being kind of an empty box, that we can put investments in there that we can center around that consistency rate of return versus the growth rate of return. You want to talk about that a little bit, maybe, some strategies that we try to do within the portfolios to keep at a consistent rate of return, maybe some things that Sage does as well?
Sure. So there are some, as I mentioned earlier, it's important to have a partner, someone that's been here before, that you don't have to pilot this airplane alone, that you do have a co-pilot along the way. And we've come across some advisors and some cash balance plans that have been around 4 or 5 years, and you take a look at the allocation, it's in a 60% equity, 40% fixed income mix. And not counting 2022, but you go back 2-3 years, pretty consistent returns north of 20%. Well, if the maximum return, the ceiling is 6%,
right,
you're significantly over. If you're significantly over in terms of your return on your plan, what does that lead to? Well, a very unhappy business owner that they're not able to contribute to the plan. So the way Sage manages these particular strategies is on an annual basis. The clock starts on January 1, it ends on December 31st. We utilize a combination of income and equity instruments that you break up from core fixed income, non-core fixed income, hybrids, and dividend equity. And we weight these allocations accordingly, and we generally follow a guide path starting in the beginning of the year of risk on and end of the year risk off.
Yeah.
So if you were to have a return of 5%, your interest crediting rate is 5%, and it's February 1, we're going to de-risk the portfolio.
Right, you're going to go down. Yeah.
And go to cash. Conversely, if it's December 1 and we're sitting at 2% and the interest crediting rate is 5, we're 300 basis points or 3% under where we need to be, we're not going to double down. We're going to finish the year, de-risk the portfolio, and we start again on January 1 again.
Yeah.
So in some respects, it's a strategy of where you want to have a return, but you don't want to exceed it, and you don't want to come too far in. It's almost like...
I almost draw the narrative back to when we had the conversation a few years back where everything, we talked about Sage, about 5 or 6% rate of return, and we kind of got laughed out of the office, like, ha, we're getting 18, 19%. But now 2022 comes along, and now you're down 30. You're on a defined benefit plan. So what does that mean? It means that health insurance goes up. It means that we don't get as much vacation. It means that we can't give away as much time to retirees.
Well, I think what's also important to understand is that the employer is on the hook for the benefit at the end.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you're investing aggressively and you're down, let's say 2 consecutive years, and you have people retiring, you're on the hook for that end payment.
Yeah.
So you don't
the
necessarily
annuity
want
and
that
whatever the
down
payment
15
is.
or 18%, either in the down market.
Yeah.
Right? Because correct me if I'm wrong, but the payments at the end can be done through an annuity, they can be paid out, or lump sum. And as you were referring to, a lump sum can be then rolled to an IRA or another plan or anything along that lines. So you really got to put it in context as a business owner as part of your succession plan as well. Because a lot of times business owners, as they get towards the end of the life of them running the business, they're looking at transitioning it. right? But this might be a very lucrative way for them to take profit out of the business through a pay structure, pre-tax it, and then create a stream of income for them.
Right.
Whether it's through pension,
Whatever
annuity,
vehicle
it might be,
you want to use,
or IRA, or whatever it might be.
Sure.
How does that play into as the owner switch, for instance? So, like, let's say I have a business and I'm doing a cash balance plan, but my intent is to transfer it to my son, Matt, say, right?
Sure.
Who's big son.
Big. Big
Somebody
appetite.
else's genes than me. I'm
Milkman.
and I'm not talking Levi's either.
That's a good question, though.
You know
How
what
does
I
he
mean?
transition it?
How does that transition? Can the son pick up where the father left off? And how's that work?
So you would close out. So you would retire, and you would take your cash balance plan and roll it at that point. Again, either in lump sum into an IRA, and then proceed to take your RMDs at a certain point from there on in. And the plan would start up again as Matt coming in as the new owner of the company.
Okay.
Got it. So then I would just start the revenue already coming in.
Correct.
I would just divvy it out.
Which for a lot of business owners that are transitioning to their kids, is very attractive because
Right.
it kind of cuts the tie,
Right.
right? Because a lot of times, as the older generation retires from a business, they don't really retire. They hang around the office.
Yeah.
Right.
We're gonna fester. We're gonna hang and make sure you're doing it our way.
Which everybody loves them, but No, they
don't.
This
They don't.
does for the purpose of the inheriting person or the inheriting family member. It creates a nice clean cut.
And it does also work as a business transition. So if you were to sell your business to your son, Matt, and ultimately Matt didn't have the down payment to come up with it, you could stay on as a consultant, as a salaried employee, and then the cash balance plan is set up from the business to also offshoot you from the business.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you want to talk about how you can identify like who you contribute to, and that it is a little bit more, I don't want to say discriminatory, but it is a little bit more directed in certain cases.
Sure.
That you can.
Yeah.
So the phrase is coverage. What are the coverages? So in 401k land, it's all full-time employees that have to be offered at least the ability to participate in a 401k. With a cash balance plan, it's either 40% of employees or a maximum of 50. So if you're talking about a firm of 10 employees,
Sure.
only 4 folks have to be covered in the cash balance plan.
Got it.
Then if you're talking in terms of a law firm of 200 lawyers that are all partners in the firm,
50
it's
people.
50.
Okay, makes sense. And then the people that are, just so again for our listeners, the people that are going to be involved in the cash balance plan, it's just the ownership that are the ones putting the money into the cash balance plan.
Or the 40%.
The 40% that are whatever, either the 50 people or the 40%, they're the ones putting money in.
The owners of the business or the principals of the company are
Correct.
putting the money in. Correct.
But at some point down the road, this is good for attrition. Let's say I become an owner, and 5 years. So 5 years ago, the owner started the cash balance plan. 5 years have gone by. Now I'm an owner. Now I want to get part of that plan. So now I can start to contribute.
Well, from that standpoint, if you were a salesperson for this widget manufacturing company, you're not a partner at this point in time.
Right.
Mark could still elect you to contribute to the cash balance plan.
Right.
And it's almost a way of ensuring that you're not going to depart
I'm
the
going to
firm.
be here, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So a way for a business owner to think about that is a lot of times people do key man insurance, or they do exec bonus plans or things along that lines.
Correct.
To keep those certain set of people that are very talented at their position, right? Because they don't want to lose them. They don't want to have to, go through Indeed or one of their job sites to
Right.
try
You wanna
somebody
keep the
that's,
person around.
so it is a very attractive golden handcuff, so to speak.
Sure.
For those specific people you want to keep in a role, or it also does, lend in a family-run business to pushing those proceeds towards specific family members.
Right.
Versus other people that you've just hired to come in and help your company along and fill those roles.
I feel like the check-ins are huge here for listeners out there that are running their own business and that have an income issue, like you have too much income. This is a great way, in addition to a 401k or a simple, to decrease income, create retirement asset, and get some ability to move on and cut that cord and transition the business. And then there's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of businesses out there. Real estate, blue collar. There's tons of businesses out there that have this issue.
Yeah, especially in the real estate industry now.
Man, I mean, For the last 2 years, how much have real estate agents been making? An active real estate agent, might be making $2 million a year. So that's important. That's why the income consistency is a part of the conversation.
Absolutely. The income level, you need a consistent cash flow from an income standpoint on that.
Right.
And I think it's also important with respect to checking in to think about the numbers. So, if you're 50 plus, you have the catch-up capabilities with your IRA, so you're looking around $27,000. With the profit sharing on top of that, you're in that $67,000 range.
Yeah.
But at that 50 year of age, within a cash balance plan, you could put another $200,000 on top of that $67,000 a year.
Right. So let's say I'm an attorney and my gross revenue, my gross sales are $2 million for the year, and I'm netting $1 million. Well, I only put $67,000 in my 401k. Even if I'm doing a SEP, even if it's what is the max? Like I forget the number. It's like either 57,000 or 25% or something like that. That may not even be enough. That's where I could use a cash balance plan. So makes sense.
Yeah. Any other final thoughts that we're missing on cash balance plans? Other things that you want to chat about?
So we've been talking about small business plans and so forth, but also it's important to think about too professional services, dentists, lawyers. We mentioned lawyers, doctors, chiropractors, anyone that you would consider that has a tax situation. And let's face it, I think we all are concerned about taxes. We all pay taxes, and it's something that is a very important part of financial services conversation, to consider those professionals very important.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And we have a great seminar coming up. I know Matt Byers, our marketing director, is working on with a lot of doctors and their practices for this such occasion, to really discuss this with them. So it's good that if you're a professional out there as well and you technically run your own business, you want to look at these types of options. So
for the longest time, when you'd go to the hospital, when I went to the hospital, or you go to a physician's or something like that in a hospital, I always thought the doctor just worked there, and it's not. A hospital contracts the doctor, right? They like a 1099. So I could be a doctor. I didn't know this. You got to like learn it as you go. I could be a doctor, work at Albany Med or St. Peter's or whatever hospital, and I just go in and I do my job and I leave. As a lay person that doesn't understand hospitals, like, the doctor just stays there. Like, no, the doctor goes and comes as he pleases. And there might be some people on staff, but I think that's an important segue there to any profession that does have these income issues.
Probably blew your mind if you went to another hospital and saw the same doctor.
Oh my God, Dr. Johnson, what are you doing here?
You got a twin brother.
No, it's good conversation, and again, we're trying to enlighten our listeners and give them ammunition. Give them good, thought-provoking ideas. And I can think off the top of my head 2 or 3 people that might have this issue with income, and they're not huge businesses. Yeah, they're probably local still. So I think it's important, man.
Well, appreciate you coming in today. You work a fairly large region. Any favorite areas you like to travel to?
Oh, Albany, Northeast.
Oh, stop.
Northeast, Staten Island, Albany.
You hate coming to Albany. Who likes coming to Albany?
But just outside of Albany, though, is really...
That's where all the fun stuff happens.
That's where all the fun stuff happens. So.
That's great.
It's always good to come up here and see you both, and I appreciate the time and the ability to talk about it.
Yeah, and we're just all thankful to have you on our platform and that we can partner with you. And as always, you can find the Esley Group at yourtimeyourmoney.net for our shows and our episodes, or at 43 British American Boulevard in Latham, New York, 800-222-3202. Once again, when you log on to see the episodes, please click like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.
Yes, exactly. And we thank you for your time today. And once again, it's your time.
And your money.